Here's the painful truth. You're not stuck because life is unfair, but because you've chosen ease over growth. And the moment you see that, everything shifts. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you postponed something that truly mattered simply because it felt difficult, unfamiliar, or uncomfortable? How frequently have you whispered, "Not quite yet," when you should have declared, "This is the moment"? That internal resistance burns. It corrodes your capacity from within. The ancient philosophers called it procrastination's twin brother, a force that operates in silence, and we still find ourselves trapped, constantly deferring our transformation, still convincing ourselves that next week's breakthrough will rescue us from the fear we carry today. Yet somewhere deep down, you know the truth. Tomorrow becomes the cage that locks away your intended self. If you're feeling something stir inside right now, let it shake you. Also, think about hitting subscribe, not as a casual gesture, but as a vow to yourself that you refuse to drift through existence unconsciously, that you're prepared to think freely, expand your potential, and build a life of intention. Time doesn't vanish in one dramatic moment. It evaporates quietly, consumed in seconds when you say, "I'll get to it later," in commitments you make to yourself and promptly abandon, in every invisible hour you exchange for nothing. We're masters of self-deception. We imagine the future as a vast field, patient and available, simply waiting for our arrival. Wrong. The future exists only as a shadow. Each moment you delay, each postponement, each hesitation transfers ownership of your days to that shadow. Seneca observed that fools perpetually ready themselves to live, and you feel the weight of that statement when you recognize how many of your aspirations are shelved, not because they were unreachable, but because you never treated them with urgency. You didn't reject them. You simply never embraced them with conviction. Not yet, not now, maybe eventually. But eventually isn't a strategy, it's an illusion. Deep within, we acknowledge that we pause for circumstances to shift, for anxiety to diminish, for inspiration to strike. These things never align. They will never occur simultaneously. The Stoics grasped this. Life won't accommodate your schedule. It offers no pause button. Life commands you to move before you feel certain, to act despite doubt, to advance even as your hands quiver. Disorder isn't separate from your purpose. It is your purpose. Peace arrives not through eliminating struggle, but through remaining upright within it, choosing your response anyway. Imagine waiting for the sea to become still before you enter the water. Absurd, isn't it? You've already forfeited precious moments. You've already buried yourself beneath layers of second-guessing. What moves the needle now is what you choose this instant, not next week, not when the season changes. Because if you keep drifting forward believing time is your ally, you'll awake to find it never was. All the things you postponed become anchors, the chapters unwritten, the conversations never started, the shifts never made. They'll surface in quiet moments, not to condemn you, but to whisper that you possess the ability all along. You simply never commenced. Urgency isn't frenzy, it's full presence. It's grasping that this single moment, this ordinary breath, overflows with possibility. Marcus Aurelius didn't obsess over mortality because he feared death. He was consumed with meaning. His realization, if you regard time as abundant, you'll squander it as though valueless. Thus, he cultivated intensity deliberately. Not reckless haste, but full engagement with his own existence. He documented, "You could cease living now. Make that your North Star." Not darkness, clarity. A compass steering you from avoidance toward genuine presence. It transcends major accomplishments. It reaches the modest acts, the message you postponed, the task you put off, the honest words you've swallowed. These wait for you, not your timetable, not external conditions. You already exceed what you believe possible. The moment you stop bargaining with fear and honor your existence. Every evasion is merely fear disguised as wisdom, and once detected, you cannot unsee it. Most hesitation is really just protection, shielding you from failure, criticism, or growth. Yet those very forces shape you. Epictetus raised a cutting inquiry. How long will you delay before you expect the best from your soul? This isn't judgment, it's an opening, a statement drawn in the ground. This isn't about flawlessness, it's about authenticity. Authenticity toward how long you've constructed false promises to yourself. Authenticity toward how long you've rehearsed an unlived existence. Authenticity toward recognizing your mortality. Nobody can insert that urgency within you. No one can demand it. But when clarity arrives, when you comprehend that this is it, that what you hold is all there ever will be, your movements transform. Waiting vanishes, presence takes over. Carl Jung articulated something essential. You are only your actions, not your aspirations. Not what you plan or desire or envision, only what you genuinely undertake. Your deeds define you. Intention alone is merely theater. This stings because it reflects the truth. You're not your blueprints, schemes, dreams, or concealed strength. You are exclusively what you activate. Everything beyond that is distraction. That's precisely why postponement proves so lethal. It generates the sensation of advancement while you remain stationary. It convinces your mind progress is unfolding, even as days blur into inertia. Yet breaking free from that spell, stopping the cycle of deferral, this unleashes momentum. Momentum breaks paralysis. It shatters stagnation. It reveals pathways you never imagined. However, momentum only emerges through initiation. Now, precisely as you are, without requiring additional hours, additional strength, additional assurance. Plato cautioned that people's greatest deception is assuming they possess adequate time. Still, we believe it until it's gone. So ask yourself with unflinching honesty, what are you waiting for? What do you imagine will arrive before you grant yourself authorization to begin? Because nothing's approaching. There's no mystical sign, no absolute certainty, only this breathing space, this one selection, and that's sufficient to initiate. Within you exists something that urges restraint where forward motion is needed. It doesn't shriek, it doesn't contend, it simply waits, lingering for precisely the right moment to whisper, later. Since its voice carries quiet authority, sounding almost reasonable, you accept it. You conflate it with self-compassion. You imagine its caution, its strategy, thoughtfulness. It isn't. It's resistance. Resistance isn't your protector, it's your captor. It doesn't need a singular, dramatic confrontation to dominate. It requires only small, convincing, just one additional delay, one untouched hour, one further span of motionlessness. Step by step, it triumphs, not by crushing you forcefully, but by making you forget your own strength. This force wears disguises. It dresses itself in objectivity. It whispers, "You're unprepared. You require additional mastery, perhaps another interval of deliberation." So you linger, you organize, you scheme, but schemes remain unrealized. You establish patterns you never execute. The bitter reality, this path feels easier. It's less challenging to remain in preparation's cocoon than to withstand the vulnerability of growth. Yet preparation without action becomes entrapment. You circle the possibility of change, each rotation digging deeper, creating chasms that seem increasingly difficult to ascend from. Marcus Aurelius faced this struggle. He documented, "You could become excellent right now, but instead you've chosen tomorrow." This phrase carries no harshness, just perception. He understood the seduction, waking to the comfort of passivity, wrestling that identical inner voice urging postponement. Yet he also comprehended that this resistance disintegrates the instant you act. A modest gesture erodes it. A solitary decision in your favor becomes a glimmer that disperses the haze. That glimmer stays accessible provided you halt negotiating with the inner whisper demanding stillness. The longer you permit resistance dominion, the denser everything feels. Your consciousness transforms into chains. Basic actions seem impossible. You forfeit faith in yourself, not from incapacity, but from constructing silence as refuge. The encouraging news: the exit route remains constant. Not a revelation, not inspiration, just action. Even clumsy, uncomfortable, unfinished action reshapes your entire being. The instant you move, the instant you commence, that weight begins dissolving. Resistance disintegrates because it cannot endure motion. It inhabits stillness exclusively. You must abandon the notion that resistance simply fades. It doesn't diminish naturally, it solidifies. It seeks new expressions. It develops. The more you nourish it with deferment, the tighter its grip becomes. Yet when you shift, when you execute despite the uncertainty in your core, you reclaim your authority. That's how discipline forms, not through mood fluctuation, but through action in spite of mood. You train yourself to communicate with that inner cry. I perceive you, yet I proceed forward today. Jung comprehended this dynamic intimately. He asserted, that which you resist doesn't simply endure, it expands. When you flee from exertion, from suffering, from the unfamiliar, it doesn't just remain, it compounds. This is why microscopic selections matter profoundly. You rationalize that bypassing one thing carries no weight. You believe that oversleeping once, postponing once, breaking one self-vow carries no consequences. Yet resistance consumes these instances. It leverages them as justification for reappearing tomorrow. This is precisely why the struggle belongs in this moment, not in grandiose exhibitions, but in imperceptible instances where you opt to show instead of hide. The most difficult aspect of shattering resistance: it feels like you require flawlessness. You don't. You require initiation. The weight to execute it flawlessly? Another mask resistance wears to obstruct commencement. It insists, if it's not pristine, it's pointless. If you lack absolute confidence, wait. This deception imprisons more individuals than actual setback, because setback originates from genuine endeavor. Perfectionism? That's merely sophisticated avoidance. You won't experience readiness most moments. You won't even sense enthusiasm, but you needn't feel prepared to commence. You require motion. The satisfaction that accompanies progress perpetually follows action, never precedes it. Progress follows movement, not inspiration. This constituted the Stoic discipline. They didn't anticipate invincibility. They anticipated barriers and proceeded anyway. They cultivated the ability to recognize that interior voice, not as verity, but as distraction. The second you learn to perceive resistance plainly, you deny it authority. Epictetus voiced this succinctly. Establish who you aspire to embody, then enact what must be done. It appears straightforward. It isn't. You might conceptualize your ideal self across months and never step forward, simply because resistance targets not your intention, but your execution. It manufactures false narratives about the hardship ahead, your inadequacy, how competitors have surpassed you. Yet when you initiate, you don't merely demolish these narratives, you construct replacements. The genuine query isn't whether resistance will emerge. It will, perpetually. Rather, will you act despite it? Because the moment you commence, even with wavering certainty, even with an uncertain mind, you're no longer the recipient being extracted. You've become the force propelling, and everything shifts. There exists an unusual force we apply internally, the compulsion to evaluate, to render judgment, to broadcast how we experience every occurrence we encounter. It's gradual, yet persistent. Someone utters something disrespectful, we automatically label it harm. Something disappoints us, we classify it as unjust. We observe another's accomplishment and instantaneously assess their deservingness. This ongoing self-narration is relentless. It's not just sound, it's substance. Every conviction you embrace, every appraisal you render, deposits another weight your consciousness must transport. Over extended intervals, all those burdens turn oppressive. What if you could shed that load? Marcus Aurelius proposed something striking in its directness. You always retain authority to maintain no position. Not because circumstances lack relevance, not because significance vanishes. Rather because equilibrium initiates when you discontinue reacting to everything. It's not forfeiting reality, it's a gesture of fortitude. It's positioning yourself within life's turbulence without being dragged along by every stimulus. You encounter something, you hear something, you experience the pull. Yet instead of immediately assigning purpose, you pause, inhale, and release. In that breath, you reclaim governance. This constitutes discipline. Like all disciplines, initially it feels unfamiliar. You'll sense the impulse to react within you, particularly when something feels significant. Somebody cuts you off. A companion lets you down. Someone anonymous types something thoughtless. Your physique reacts. Your mind strains to construct interpretation. But consider this. What if, just momentarily, you simply let it remain? No explanation, no identifier, just a phenomenon that transpired. Not every statement warrants counterstatement. Not every sensation must transform into conviction. Not everything unpleasant requires resolution. Most of your psychological exhaustion doesn't come from actual circumstances. It originates from the narratives you construct regarding those circumstances. That's the genuine wellspring of anguish. Life presents something, and instead of acknowledging it plainly, you envelop it in significance. This shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have spoken that way. Why has this come to me? The Stoics recognized this downward spiral thoroughly. They didn't clash with existence. They developed the ability to observe actuality as it is, not as they felt in the instant. Because the moment you begin perceiving clearly, stripped of the haze of evaluation, your reasoning clarifies. You needn't transform into someone detached to experience stability. This isn't about severing from existence or acting like nothing counts. It's about engaging without gripping, observing without drowning, reacting without spiraling. There's an elegance in this kind of fortitude, an understated steadiness that doesn't compulsively amend anything or demand validation. That doesn't require obvious reactivity to feel authentic. This fortitude articulates, I can exist meaningfully without declaring positions. I can be alive without creating disturbance. As you cultivate this habit, genuinely cultivated, you'll perceive a transformation. Your resources recover. The heaviness that once inhabited your breast gradually lightens. Why? Because you're no longer exhausting mental resources on matters undeserving of them. You're not recycling conversations endlessly. You're not reimagining circumstances. You're not forecasting critique. You're simply existing, fully attentive, completely yourself. That embodies genuine autonomy. Epictetus reminds us, it's not circumstances that disturb us, but the judgments we form. This observation, though chronologically ancient, feels distressingly applicable now. Scan your communications feed. You'll encounter individuals drowning in assessments. Everyone articulates commentary on absolutely everything, constantly. As the volume escalates, hearing your own thoughts grows harder. Yet the Stoics didn't operate like this. They didn't pursue outrage. They didn't perform indignation. They selected silence where the masses selected noise. That silence didn't feel empty, it felt spacious. It offered breathing room. It gifted them space to contemplate, to determine wisely. You can cultivate that capacity. You can establish that expanse within your existence. The following moment you sense impulse to dispute, communicate, categorize, Pause. Inquire. Does this perspective require articulation? Will it generate tranquility or amplify disturbance? If it's disturbance, let it pass. Not because you're escaping disagreement, but because you've recognized your psychological equilibrium surpasses winning any disagreement. That your concentration outweighs every argument, that your days matter more than permanence. Seneca cautioned, "Whoever suffers prematurely experiences greater suffering than necessity." When you retain unnecessary judgments, you endure prior to actuality necessitating it. You fabricate complications you generated through expectation. You forfeit the serenity that might have supported you. Yet you can transform this. You can reclaim your consciousness by declining to permit it scattered in all directions. Permit discourse to occur. Permit error to exist. Permit circumstances to unfold without your perspective superimposed. That's not fragility, that's dominion. To remain composed amidst disturbance. To remain generous amidst malice. To remain lucid amidst mayhem. This characterizes Stoicism. Not evasion, but resilience. Not disconnection, but perception. Socrates maintained that the unexamined being contains no worth. Yet the distinction between contemplating life and overthinking it terminates somewhere. One produces comprehension, the other produces confusion. Occasionally, comprehension originates not from increased thinking, but from minimized thinking. From preferring quiet over discussion, steadiness over responsiveness, awareness over excessive analysis. You're permitted to sit alongside something without hastily identifying it. You're permitted to experience something without fabricating a narrative. You're permitted to let existence be what it is without tangling yourself attempting modification. And when you genuinely commence existing this way, when you abandon control over your assessments, you might just encounter something beneath the clamor. Your own tranquility, finally respiring. There's a quietness that accompanies loss, one that terminology cannot genuinely describe. It doesn't manifest dramatically or lucidly. It manifests gently and lingers. Certain moments it presents as compression upon your heart. Other intervals it manifests as absence behind your perception. You continue, you converse, you even chuckle. Internally, you've experienced basic restructuring. Life continues. It spins indifferently, as though it never lost someone irreplaceable. Yet you recognize, you perceive the void in each commonplace instant. In that tranquility, in that aching, you commence understanding divergently. The Stoics conceived of loss not as something to circumvent, but as something to accept, not through immersion, but through utility. They didn't flee from mortality. They didn't characterize it as tragedy. They grasped it as regularity, as rhythm, as integral. Marcus Aurelius counseled himself perpetually. Everyone he treasured would perish, not from fixation on destruction, but from desire to appreciate them vehemently while here, to recollect importance before duration made return impossible. Mortality was educator, anguish was translator. Therefore, if you've experienced loss that fractured something within, that isn't brokenness, that's awakening. It's space where recollection and significance germinate. You don't mend by sealing it. You mend by permitting it expansion. You mend through converting agony into consciousness. Every gesture of compassion you enact in remembrance perpetuates them alive, truly, not as abstraction, but as influence, as residing vitality circulating through your expression, your selections, your essence. You needn't transcend it. The supposition that moving forward equals erasing runs shallow and untrue. You bear them. You perpetuate them. You grant them presence through your living. If they exercise patience, demonstrate patience. If they embodied honesty, communicate with that transparency. If they possessed fortitude and stillness, permit your quiet be potent. You don't remain unaffected by loss. You're meant to metamorphose. Anguish doesn't merely extract, it confers. Profundity, acuteness, comprehension that permanence is impossible, and that's precisely what renders it gorgeous. Carl Jung articulated, "Merely the afflicted healer mends." Perhaps that's what bereavement accomplishes. It afflicts you, yes, but grants you capacity for healing another differently than ever before. You perceive suffering in others' expressions differently. You turn slower to critique, quicker to release, more conscious during interaction that previously felt trivial. When someone expresses they're struggling, you listen without attempting resolution. Because presently you comprehend, some phenomena aren't meant for fixing, they're meant for accompaniment. And occasionally sorrow will creep backward, a sound, an aroma, a recollection, and that's acceptable. That's not regressing, that's affection persisting. It's your consciousness reminding you what you forfeited still shapes, that it's perpetually affecting, that it remains here in the ways that genuinely register. The Stoics didn't rebel against loss, they absorbed it. They permitted it to humble them, to erase excess, to redirect them toward essentials. Seneca pronounced, "He who fears termination will accomplish nothing worthy of a breathing being." He grasped that dread of loss renders us fearful, yet embracing it produces valor. When you comprehend that everything may be extracted, you commence retaining everything differently. You abandon grasping for flawlessness. You discontinue performing you own forever and commence channeling yourself into duration beyond the organism. Character, existence, adoration. Permit loss to direct you, not imprison you. Permit it to grasp your consciousness and guide you further into existence, not distant from it. Permit it to create you increasingly conscious, not diminished. Because the suffering you experience isn't exclusively regarding termination, it's regarding purpose. It's notification that something bore weight intensely, that profundity doesn't fade, it transforms, it receives purpose. And enabling that progression, you emerge more formidable. Not colder, not emptier, but increasingly capable of affection, requiring no warranties. Epictetus pronounced, "Never assert of anything I've lost it, solely I surrendered it." That observation contains profundity, solemn modesty. You don't possess anyone, not their duration, not their essence. You're honored with acquaintance, companionship, education. When they depart, you don't misplace, you relinquish to existence. You assume their offering and deliver it further through your language, your judgments, your adoration. It's not uncomplicated. Everything valuable lacks ease. Yet every moment you transform adoration into action instead of anguish, you perpetuate their radiance. It's not jubilation. It's not pretending you're functioning. It's honoring their gift by declining numbness toward your consciousness. It's inhabiting so completely that if they witnessed you presently, they'd see themselves within your becoming. Plato held, the spirit transcends physicality. Even without that conviction, immortality exists in recollection, in standards, in conversion. Enabling their significance to navigate your journey, they don't vaporize, they progress via you. That's not imagination, that's obligation. That's what loss requests, not advancement, yet progress, bearing what vanished. As you traverse, recollect, you're not solitary in the void. Each individual crossing paths has surrendered someone. Every composed gaze on transportation, every detached appearance in a bistro, every weary being behind furniture. They're all transporting something simultaneously. Occasionally, your experience supplies terminology to theirs. Occasionally, your restoration grants authorization for theirs. Loss, wielded well, isn't encumbrance, it's compass. One indicating not toward despair, but toward profundity. One that doesn't eradicate anguish, but transforms it into something purposeful, something hallowed. Therefore, if you've experienced loss, Don't contract because of it. Permit it to contour you. Permit it to lengthen your scope for adoration, for consciousness, for bravery. Comprehend that doing so, you're perpetuating them living in the most substantial pathway possible, not in consciousness solely, yet in momentum, in selections, in the being you construct. There's a moment each morning appearing unimportant, yet isn't. That gap between slumber and determination, between remaining still and ascending. What you enact in that moment discloses everything regarding who holds authority. The fraction of you desiring comfort or the fraction wanting growth. Certain occasions awakening arrives effortlessly. Occasions feel similar to hoisting an enormous weight of reluctance. Yet fundamentally, advancement will not hinge on your emotional state. It hinges on your selection. The Stoics didn't linger awaiting inspiration's knock. They executed. They advanced. They educated themselves to depend on exertion, not sensation. Anticipating encouragement represents among the most hazardous patterns we've normalized. It persuades you that exertion requires sensation's approval. Yet, sensation is inconsistent. It's unreliable. When your journey pivots on instances you experience engaged, you surrender control to randomness. That's not authority. That's servitude to your emotional fluctuations. The Stoics inhabited epochs of tumult, devastation, brutality, political deception. Regardless, they constructed technique to act with balance and composure. They weren't superhuman. They were dedicated to something firmer than sensation, conviction. You needn't sense robust to act sturdily. Realistically, the majority of intervals you won't. You'll experience drained, let down, uncertain. Yet every iteration you select advancement. Despite that, you reconstruct your identity. You construct verification via selections that you don't depend on sensation. That fabricates something firmer than sensation ever could. Confidence. You commence having faith in your commitment, your method, your speed. You terminate needing to perceive outstanding to accomplish something meaningful. That conversion equals everything. Occasionally, the littlest motion dissolves the strongest spell. A circuit around the block, a handful of comprehensive inhalations, positioning when you desire horizontal. These phenomena appear insignificant, yet they're announcements. They're pronouncements regarding who's commanding. And picking action, particularly when it seems inconsequential, you position a pennant. You proclaim, I'm advancing presently, not lingering. And in that advancement, the haze disperses. You recall the sensation of being your individual strength. There's esteem in exertion, not exclusively in the outcome, in the determination itself. That's the Stoic comprehension. Exertion fulfills its own objective. Effort itself becomes the reward, not the result. That participating, irrespective of dimension, generates comprehension. Execution discloses what contemplation cannot. You recognize the load you believed everlasting was merely inertia. Inertia forfeits capacity the instant you select advancement. Even trembling appendages, even objecting consciousness, since action isn't exclusively conduct, it's conviction. It's the conviction you're unfinished, that something within still desires combat, that momentum restores, not simply physically, yet profoundly. Aristotle expressed, we become via constant practice. Excellence, therefore, equals not singular instance, yet rhythm. Rhythm forms not through overwhelming force, yet via consistency. You needn't devastate yourself daily. You needn't shatter benchmarks. You're simply demonstrating perpetually. Every iteration, irrespective of intensity, particularly when it's demanding, you construct synchronicity unattached to sensation. You transform into dependable to yourself. That reliability transforms into confidence. Not boisterous, rather gentle. The category that expresses, I've performed this previously, I'm capable. There's a resonance perpetually persuading relaxation, patience, reduction. Occasionally, genuinely, respite carries wisdom. Occasionally, tranquility remains holy. However, not when it represents circumvention, not when it represents departure, not when it wears stories about how you'll approach it eventually. Eventually embodies fantasy, currently embodies radiance. Authentic conversion initiates when you stop requesting your sensation and begin requesting what counts. What counts is momentum. What counts is reliability. What counts is maintaining your pledges to yourself when nobody observes. Epictetus accepted that self-authority equated independence, not limitation. Freedom, since when you comprehend forwarding on personal instruction, you discontinue getting redirected by spur of the moment. You discontinue requiring flawlessness for implementation. You discontinue requiring validation. That variety of independence proves uncommon. It remains potent. It allows advancement when others pause, construction when others separate, authority when others postpone. Therefore, the upcoming instance you experience arrested, advance. Not from sensation, yet from aliveness. Not from convenience, yet correctness. Advance prior to sensation's acceptance. Advance while discomfort persists. Advance as your destiny depends upon it, since it truly does. Every iteration you opt for disciplines versus delays, you draw yourself toward the being you profess to wish to become. The expanded you accomplish it, the decreased persuasion it requires. You basically become it. Not instantly, instead progressively, step by step, motion above sensation, occasion after occasion, every instance, perpetually. Each morning you manifest incomplete, not shattered, not beaten, just unfinished. There's something remaining unidentified, something staying not yet grasped, a portion of puzzle you haven't examined. The separation between drifting or traveling with function regularly depends on willingness to investigate that portion. Insight doesn't appear like electrical discharge. It emerges gradually, dimension by dimension. Neglecting to investigate it, you'll forfeit it. That's precisely why instruction represents not something performed when youthful. It's not transitory. It's the heart-pumping movement of a purposeful being. The Stoics comprehended this. They weren't fixated on understanding for displaying. They were fixated since they recognized the magnitude of agony emanating from not comprehending yourself or inhabiting correctly. The majority comprehend to depart. The sensible comprehend to arrange. They don't assemble statements for web presence. They verify through their particular battles. They don't treat publications as ornaments. They operate as resources. The distinction among being knowledgeable and being redesigned carries consequence. The pathway forward connects implementation. Perusing without considering mirrors, honing a device you don't employ. It provides illusion without outcome. Though when you grapple with a notion, when you permit it to unsettle you, press you, stretch you, that's when it modifies your consciousness. Carl Jung expressed, consciousness isn't picturing illumination, rather generating darkness apparent. That darkness, that unexplored realm within you, doesn't surface without opposition. That opposition transpires via investigation, via quiet, via that uncomfortable instant where knowledge forces recognition. You've been existing improperly. You recognize plainly. It damages. Yet that plainness represents the start of authority. That's positioning ego's departure and development's entrance. The expanded you accept that uncomfortableness. The expanded skilled you develop toward confronting reality, not arrogantly, yet with substantiated precision. Examining as your existence depends upon it suggests absorbing items that challenge your certainties, not confirm them. It suggests journaling when procrastination beckons. It suggests sitting alongside uncertainties longer. It suggests coming back repeatedly to identical words until terminology sounds not clever, yet recognized like something personally inhabited, something presently embraced. Not simply intellectually, yet within your tissues. Seneca articulated, instruction instructs us, Humility emerging, not boastfulness, reminder we're perpetually becoming. That insight isn't accumulation, it's reaffirmation throughout new despair, fresh devastation. When you reread recognition once grasped, comprehending strikes differently, that constitutes instruction, expansion. Not language shifting, you transformed. Presently, you possess marks permitting recognition ignored. Yet studying transforms hazardous if careless. Alternative version operates productivity that isn't. Variety of individual enhancement, habitual encouraging ingestion. Selecting, keeping, yet never utilizing. The Stoics categorize that inefficiency. Understanding seized equals pressure. Understanding utilized equals authority. You don't require cataloging entire publication. You require inhabiting minimal truths so thoroughly others experience them externally. That comprehension needs minimal, simply attentiveness, returning, bravery. Epictetus conceived of publications as consciousness physical training facility, not exhibition area, yet conditioning location. You don't show, you perspire, you stumble, you develop strength. That's methodology for investigation, not appearing intelligent, yet contemplating plainly when everything deteriorates. That contemplation, composed, anchored, educated represents uncommon, yet achievable if committed perpetually. Don't overlook repetition's effect. Comprehending identical publication, composing equivalent topics in recording ideas, revisiting identical citation resounding perpetually. Repeating isn't unnecessary, it's improvement, progressively toward complete assimilation. It's eliminating need for publications, since presently it inhabits internally. Plato suspected investigation embodied recollection. That heart currently understands, that review awakens it. Whether interpreting, awakening, or discovering proves irrelevant. Significance remains perpetually investigating, since postponing investigation equals commencing withering, not physically, yet psychologically, inwardly, becoming rigid, unchangeable, foreseeable. Yet the investigator persists, delicate, wondering, prepared, shifting. That's precisely why it's not about perusing everything. It's about selecting astutely, perusing through intent, enabling appropriateness, shatter convenience, permitting questioning your standards, your patterns, your justifications. Whenever it performs, don't run from pressure. Concentrate, specify it, validate it, primarily employ it. You don't require additional writing, you require dedication. Dedication to progress, to accuracy, to turning into someone juvenile variation celebrates, grown variation appreciates. You're unfinished, not presently, not eternally, and that's not weight, it's capability. Notification that living perpetually offers you understanding, perpetually supplying apparatus, perpetually requesting you strengthen your instrument and utilize it, not against people, yet against your personal commotion, personal deceptions, personal opposition. Investigate as your being depends upon it. Realistically, substantially it performs. Your consciousness's caliber develops much less from inherent aspect, substantially from what consistently occupies it. Persons communicate about safeguarding duration, financing, vitality, yet incredibly handful defend consciousness's doorway. Yet what you grant consciousness becomes consciousness's composition. Not theoretically, yet factually. You assert your social media habits don't alter concentration. Perpetual turmoil doesn't reshape disposition. Shallow distraction doesn't diminish contemplation. Yet they completely do. Steadily, they tint everything. The Stoics didn't simply advise disturbance externally. They warned regarding consciousness's gradual compromise when you stop choosing what enters it. Marcus Aurelius recorded, "Consciousness becomes tinted through its concept's hue." That represented warning, not poetic decoration. Permit gossip, aggression, superficiality, shallow performance to fill consciousness, and don't be astonished spotting existence through a dimmer prism. Since your consciousness isn't confidential observers, they're pigmentation. They tint how you notice existence, how you handle beings, how you answer difficulty. You cannot wash it utilizing singular publications or singular citations. That pigmentation requires deliberate, continuous cleansing. You can't alter your being without first modifying the context you introduce consciousness to. What you scroll past counts. What sounds throughout your area counts. Resonance entering consciousness through publications, audio, journalism, interchange shapes your private expression. They generate your reflexes. They educate expectation of existence, notably expectation of your consciousness. Whenever you consume amusement constructed around turbulence, matching, inexpensive excitement, assume consciousness starts mirroring that. Whenever your standards reduce, whenever your peacefulness vanishes, whenever your concentration disintegrates, simply because consciousness resembles substance, it's not construction, it's porous. It accepts whatever you permit alongside it. The Stoics picked influences attentively. They arrived at minimal primary publications, minimal trustworthy consciousness, and re-examined continually, not from rigidity, yet from comprehending unfiltered disturbances jeopardy. They weren't frightened of existence, yet they weren't careless with interior territory either. They comprehended consciousness's sensitivity, adaptability, and somewhat changeable attempts toward resistance. They supervised contribution. They didn't grant anyone or anything complementary occupancy inside their awareness. Carl Jung articulated, people perform anything, regardless of ridiculousness, evading consciousness. That represents what many current contribution provides, interruption from effort of formation. That's why unlimited scrolling becomes so infectious. It retains consciousness just busy sufficiently to circumvent silence. Silence becomes uncomfortable since it forces self-recognition, your apprehension, your irritation, your dissatisfaction, your contradictions. Yet precisely there your conversion pauses, not inside engagement, not inside contention, yet inside pause enabling accuracy to surface. When's the ultimate instance you opted to absorb something testing instead of soothing? When's the ultimate instant you coexisted with investigator, creating you experience somewhat ignorant, not to mortify, yet to stretch? The Stoics term that variety influence philosophical alliance, lingering alongside deceased, perusing not to depart, yet to grapple, provoke, progress. They didn't absorb that understanding singly, they constructed it portion of their synchronization. Simply because they comprehended predetermined context won't elevate you, company won't salvage you, formula won't educate consciousness. That duty belongs to you. Seneca instructed, we revisit insignificant influential consciousness frequently, not from reverence, yet from amplifying comprehension. You don't purely absorb intelligence, you immerse yourself. You examine again while furious. You examine again when failing. You examine again supposing you've surpassed it, plus it resonates distinctly. That's not inactive studying, it's mindful nourishment. Consciousness, like organism, requires constant nourishment, not vacant carbohydrates, not disturbance, yet nutrient-thick, present facts. You require regarding consciousness as capital, not careless swipe, yet hallowed placement. Position counts. Providing it inhabitants who grievance perpetually, supposing your feelings language. Providing it inhabitants who disseminate, fixated on surface emptiness, thriving on destructiveness, commence articulating similarly, irrespective of understanding. Consequence functions gradually, comparable to water upon stone, yet sufficient duration reshapes everything. Epictetus suspected we transform resembling what we honor. That disposition represents group we inhabit, despite whether organization appears electronic, distant, or existing. It means you decide who you transform by organizing who you listen. It suggests you fracture patterns of hesitation, victimization, scatter, apprehension, not by power, instead via supplying yourself something divergent, something truthful, something transparent. It's not regarding seclusion, it's regarding aim. You don't require departing worldwide, you merely want discontinuing, launching consciousness's entrance toward all asking. You're able listening specifically. You're able muting items, neglecting development. You're able departing conversations, poisoning attention. You're able creating repository of investigators, communicators, contributors maintaining standards greater, not from excellence, yet from reminding your meant self. Plato counseled, consciousness resembles chariot directed by wild creatures, our longings, feelings, impulses, perpetually dragging inbound opposing routes. Yet charioteer, conscious consciousness, must comprehend direction. That representation maintains relevance, substantially presently, since consciousness perpetually gets pulled via journalism, fashions, verdict, urgency. Yet should you recollect who controls direction, you restore your consciousness's course. You terminate receiving dragged and commence steering yourself. Every moment you provide consciousness profundity, intelligence, truthful understanding, you're selecting enhanced existence. Every moment squandered within disturbance represents determining stagnation. It's not regarding regret, it's regarding recognition, simply because you're unable to afford going unconscious presently. Not whether you want consciously inhabiting, not whether you want peacefulness, not whether you want concluding, recognizing you gave focus to genuinely matter. So commence selecting, commence organizing, commence concentrating with coming times. Recollect consciousness perpetually transforms. It's perpetually pigmentation itself. The singular inquiry, what palette are you supplying? There's anything concerning language subsequently that seems innocent. It grants us sensation of opportunity. It softens moments' urgency. It outfits a myth murmuring space. Nevertheless, reality refutes. You weren't ever guaranteed subsequently, not following interval, not following lunar, not tomorrow. That's anything to anxiously consider. It's anything to accept. The Stoics didn't preoccupy with passing for dramatization. They maintained it adjacent since it maintained them genuine. They confronted it explicitly, therefore existed much more obviously. Recollect expiration. Acknowledge you'll depart. Remembering doesn't take aliveness, it provides it back. There exists interval pulsing softly, invisibly throughout anything execute, every instant maintaining, any expression you decline, any aspiration you postpone, those represent intervals you're forwarding toward finishing, not inside single magnificent gesture, yet inside gradual surrender. The majority don't recognize till delayed. They consider managing duration when genuinely duration's directing them. Intervals go not amid booming bells, yet midst hush, single selection per opportunity, single justification per opportunity, till they examine backward, identifying they perpetually awaited living, yet never actually happen. Seneca transcribed, "It's not we're constrained duration, we're wasting substantial." That observation hits at anything numerous circumvent. We're not frightened termination equivalent to, we're frightened wasted living. That hushed, aching, surfacing, recognizing you're qualified for added, yet persist articulating not yet. Aching representing the individual you're intended becoming, hangs holding alternatives you weigh against. Expiration doesn't embody thief, postponement does. What'd transform understanding you're finishing? What'd count extra? What'd disappear immediately? Trivial arguments, scrolling, uncertainty, approval seeking. Everything commences appearing insignificant, recollecting interval. Inquiry isn't whether you've got duration. Inquiry concerns utilizing you've obtained. Much too regularly, accomplishment declares worth. You're unable fabricating it. Appointment doesn't prevaricate, Concentration doesn't prevaricate. Execution illustrates truth. Occasionally, what displays causes pain, yet suffering transmutes as gift. You're not recognizing your conclusion with guilt. You're recognizing it through resolve. That concludes existing isn't repetition. It comprises this. Your only plus destructive aspect you'd perform sits consuming it, slumbering. You weren't ever guaranteed something afterward. You'll provided this unitary, chaotic, gorgeous, probability-generating, associating, placing something superior to you, identified this. Don't throw away at sharpening your apprehension. Don't throw away at striving, being appreciated. Don't throw away at assuming you've sufficient moment worldwide. You don't. Plus this indicates significance. Therefore, once instance finishes, inquiring yourself actually existed, grant your response, grant it something you're satisfied with, grant it representing existing really, not wanting additional, proper, adequate. Since basically this represents what Stoics educated, not pursuing endless lifetime, yet existing thoroughly, loss holds nothing. You weren't intended withholding, you're intended performing, expanding, turning, per instant selecting consciousness past postponement. You reclaim your existence through apprehension's grasp. Therefore, don't examine backward regret. Look forward with certainty. The path is yours, if you walk it. Look forward past determine, pathways yourselves, besides if you advance. Observe one of the films about monitor to maintain exploring greater, plus appreciate you're an element of Winds of Thought. Please like this video and subscribe to Winds of Thought. That means everything.